"I hate you." These were the words Tommy Smith, Liverpool's legendary defender, used to describe his feelings toward his own teammate, Emlyn Hughes. But behind this shocking hatred lies a story far more complex than simple rivalry. Emlyn Walter Hughes wasn't just any footballer. He was Crazy Horse, the captain who led Liverpool through their golden era, amassing 4 league titles, 2 European Cups, 2 UEFA Cups, and an FA Cup. Born in Barrow-in-Furness, Hughes made a pivotal choice early in life, choosing football over rugby league like his father Fred. This decision would take him from 28 appearances at Blackpool to becoming one of England's most celebrated players. In February 1967, Bill Shankly signed Hughes for Liverpool for £65,000. Shankly's excitement was prophetic, famously telling a policeman, "You know who I've got in the back of this car, son?" The future Liverpool and England captain. Hughes's versatility was immediately apparent. Comfortable in midfield, at left back, or in central defence, his all-action style earned him the nickname Crazy Horse after a particularly robust tackle on a Newcastle United winger. Hughes's professional rise culminated in 1973 when he was made Liverpool captain. This appointment would prove to be both his greatest triumph and the source of his deepest conflicts. He recorded 665 appearances for Liverpool, scoring 49 goals and collecting trophy after trophy. His adaptability and sheer tenacity were valuable assets during a period of squad transition at Anfield. His contributions were recognised individually with the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year award in 1977. The silverware collection was remarkable. 4 league titles, 2 European Cups, 2 UEFA Cups, and an FA Cup, cementing his place in club folklore. On the international stage, he earned 62 caps for England between 1969 and 1980, captaining the national team on 23 occasions and participating in the 1970 World Cup finals and 1980 European Championship finals. This remarkable public record, filled with immense achievement and professional acclaim, stands as testament to his on-field greatness. It was this image of the decorated champion, the captain marvel of a dominant Liverpool side, that served as the foundation for understanding the more contentious aspects of his personal life. But beneath this glittering success lay deep personal conflicts. The central point of contention was Hughes's enduring feud with Tommy Smith. This animosity, which was deep and personal, began with an alleged incident that occurred 18 months before Hughes became captain. Smith claims Hughes told him that several Arsenal players were willing to throw a match for £50 a man. Smith felt Hughes might have been trying to set him up, and this created profound distrust that cemented their mutual dislike. The situation exploded in 1973 when Hughes was given the captaincy following a falling out between Smith and Bill Shankly. For Tommy Smith, who had been at the club far longer, this was devastating. He later reflected, "It was my club. I'd been there a damn sight longer than him," expressing his frustration at allowing a two-faced little so-and-so to spoil his footballing life. If you're finding this story as fascinating as we are, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We want to know what you think about this complex relationship between teammates. Comment below about whether you believe personal conflicts can coexist with professional success, or if you think Smith's hatred was justified. Bob Paisley was acutely aware of the dynamic, stating that some of Emlyn's teammates weren't that fond of him, and one of them, Tommy Smith, absolutely hated him. The two men, despite playing side by side for the club, never spoke to each other off the pitch. The hatred wasn't limited to Smith. Peter Osgood from Chelsea recounted that everyone hated Emlyn, by the way, and described a memorable moment when Smith sprinted past his own teammate to shake hands with Chelsea's Chopper Harris after he tackled Hughes, telling him, "I could get to like you, Harris." Online comments from former players and fans echo this sentiment, with some noting that Hughes wasn't very popular at all and could be seen as not the most genuine of guys. This widespread personal friction reveals a crucial paradox in Hughes's character and leadership style. The dislike extended beyond the dressing room, creating a pattern of interpersonal conflict that followed him throughout his career. Despite this personal animosity, both men displayed remarkable professional conduct. The warring and mutual loathing that existed off the pitch never compromised their performance for the team. They were consummate professionals on the pitch, never allowing personal feelings to affect their game. This adherence to professional conduct was a hallmark of the Shankly and Paisley eras and a critical element in understanding the club's success. Hughes was described by Bob Paisley as someone who always wanted to be the king of the roost and wanted to be a charge hand. This framed Hughes's ambition not just as desire for success, but as a deep-seated need for control and status. From this perspective, the alleged incident and subsequent captaincy change symptomatic of a personality perceived as self-serving and single-minded. For Smith, a guardian of the club's traditional values, this ambition may have been seen as betrayal, a prioritization of personal success over collective old guard values. Yet Hughes was undeniably effective as a leader. He was a bubbly character who motivated his teammates by his own example, known for being first out onto the training ground and last to come in. This results-oriented professional dedication commanded immense respect and produced unparalleled success, even if it didn't generate personal affection off the pitch. The existence of professional admiration alongside personal disdain reveals the most profound aspect of his legacy, showing a figure who could inspire greatness while simultaneously creating personal friction. Hughes himself acknowledged his complex relationship with Smith. In a glowing tribute in his autobiography, he expressed profound admiration and respect for Smith as a captain, even if he didn't get along with him as a person. This demonstrates the sophisticated understanding both men had of separating personal feelings from professional duty. Following his retirement in 1984, Hughes embarked on a successful media career. He transitioned from footballing legend to beloved national icon, becoming team captain on the popular BBC quiz show A Question of Sport. His infectious enthusiasm and bubbly character were perfectly suited for television. He was happiest when he had an audience and was in the limelight. This television persona was masterful rebranding that likely overshadowed the contentious aspects of his footballing life for an entire generation who knew him more for his quick wit than his on-field clashes. The universally cheerful and affable persona he cultivated on screen allowed Hughes to solidify a positive legacy that extended far beyond the confines of the football pitch. This move to television was a critical moment in shaping his lasting legacy, transforming him from controversial footballer to beloved entertainer. But Hughes's story took a tragic turn in 2003. The first sign of trouble appeared when he collapsed sideways while chatting with his family at Newmarket races. After a second similar incident 3 weeks later when he fell off his bike, he was sent for an MRI scan, which revealed a devastating brain tumour diagnosis. He underwent surgery in August 2003 and subsequently received chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Despite the bleak prognosis, Hughes's fighting spirit, so evident on the football pitch, was on full display in his personal battle. When informed his chances of survival were 1 in 10,000, his defiant response was, "Oh right, well, I'll be the second person to survive then." His agent confirmed Hughes was a man who doesn't want a fuss and just wants to get on with it, noting he was back doing after-dinner gigs only, weeks after he'd come out of hospital. Hughes never complained or asked why me. His main goal was attending the 2003 Rugby World Cup in Australia with his family, which he achieved. In February 2004, he walked his daughter Emma down the aisle at her wedding, showing remarkable determination despite his deteriorating condition. The courage Hughes displayed during his final battle was perhaps his greatest performance. His determination to maintain dignity and continue working despite his illness demonstrated the same relentless spirit that had defined his playing career. This final chapter of his life revealed the true character beneath the controversies. Emlyn Hughes passed away in November 2004 at the age 57. His wife Barbara and their children Emma and Emlyn Jr. have since devoted themselves to brain tumour research, transforming their grief into a powerful public campaign in his memory. The attendance at his funeral by hundreds of mourners, including football legends Kevin Keegan, Kenny Dalglish and John Toshack, served as a final statement on his standing in the football community. John Toshack's eulogy provided powerful validation of his professional dedication, describing him as a bubbly character who motivated his teammates by his own example, and a man who was first out onto the training ground and last to come in. Hughes's life illustrates the powerful duality of public image and private reality. His career is a compelling example of how professional legacy can be built on success that coexists with personal complications. He was not a simple figure. His on-field leadership, forged in a culture of winning at all costs, commanded immense professional respect, but didn't always result in personal popularity. He was a crazy horse who galloped from rejection in Barrow to the highest levels of European glory, leaving behind an indelible mark on British sport that remains both significant and remarkably complex. You're wrong. If you think Liam Brady's career was defined by failure, you couldn't be more mistaken. The truth behind what many call his downfall isn't about a lack of talent or character. It's about a man of principle, standing up for beautiful football in a world that often chose pragmatism over artistry. The most famous moment that shaped this narrative happened in 1990, during Brady's testimonial match against West Germany. Republic of Ireland manager Jack Charlton made a decision that shocked the football world. After just 35 minutes, he substituted Brady, Ireland's most gifted player, in what should have been a celebration of his international career. But this wasn't just a tactical decision. It was the culmination of years of conflict between two completely opposite football philosophies. Brady represented everything elegant about the game. His style was intricate, technical, and possession-based. He had exceptional vision and close control, capable of making even a mediocre team potent. His time in Italy had refined his aesthetic sensibilities, where he was accustomed to a more patient, cerebral approach to football. Charlton, on the other hand, believed in rigid pragmatism. He standardized everything, building a pattern of play that eliminated improvisation to prevent confusion. His famous long ball approach instructed goalkeepers to kick every ball long and as far forward as possible. It was the complete antithesis of Brady's creative style. This wasn't just about tactics. There was personal antipathy involved. Charlton's no-nonsense demeanour and alleged desire to bomb out Brady from the start suggests a deep-seated prejudice against the elegant star playmaker. When Charlton substituted Brady in that testimonial match, the Irishman felt profound hurt and betrayal. He described feeling discarded in a move that was completely unnecessary and out of order. If you're enjoying this deep dive into one of football's most misunderstood stories, make sure to subscribe for more untold tales from the beautiful game. A shouting match ensued after the game, and in the heat of the moment, Brady announced his retirement from international football. This decision meant he missed Ireland's historic World Cup qualification later that year. While Charlton later wrote an apologetic note, Brady's response revealed the wound never truly healed. When asked if he was happy about the apology, he simply stated, "Not really." His main disagreement remained over how the game should be played. The impact on Brady's international career was devastating. Due to a combination of injury, suspension, and the public fallout with Charlton, Brady missed both Euro '88 and the 1990 World Cup. Even after he declared himself available for selection again ahead of Italia '90, Charlton decided not to bring him. This omission represents one of football's great ironies. Ireland's most gifted player of a generation never had the chance to grace a major international tournament, particularly painful considering how revered he was by Italian fans and journalists who understood his genius. But here's where the narrative of downfall completely falls apart. Brady's move to Juventus in 1980 was described as a bombshell that left Arsenal fans in mourning. For Juventus, the transfer fee of just over £500,000 proved to be an absolute bargain. As the first foreign player to sign for the club since Italian borders had reopened, Brady immediately established himself as a dominant force. He wore the coveted number 10 shirt and won 2 consecutive Serie A titles in 1981 and 1982. His period at Juventus showcased not just his talent, but his extraordinary character. When the club signed French superstar Michel Platini in 1982, Brady was told he would be leaving with 3 games remaining in the season due to foreign player limits. Despite this personal setback, his final act for the club demonstrated immense integrity. In the last match of the season, with the title on the line, he was given the responsibility of taking a penalty to secure the championship. Knowing he was being discarded, he stepped up, scored, and won his second medal. This choice to take such a high-stakes penalty, despite his circumstances, shows extraordinary professionalism and class. Brady's departure from Juventus triggered changes that affected the rest of his Italian career, but not through any fault of his own. The foreign player limit meant he couldn't stay at the pinnacle of Italian football, a structural limitation that derailed his momentum. He moved to Sampdoria in 1982, spending 2 seasons where the club never finished higher than 6th. His next move was to Inter Milan in 1984, where he teamed up with Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. While he helped Inter reach a UEFA Cup semi-final and third-place league finish, he failed to win major honours simply because he was on teams that weren't title contenders. The most challenging chapter came at Ascoli in 1986, where his time reached what he called a sour conclusion. This wasn't due to his performance, but because of a year-long dispute with club president Costantino Rozzi over failed wage payments. Brady recounted being literally chased around a boardroom by a club official demanding he return a document proving he was owed money. This period highlighted the disconnect between his intelligence and vision on the pitch and the world of backroom deceit he was forced to navigate. He later admitted his decision to join Ascoli was a moment where his wallet overruled his brain, but even then, no amount of on-field genius could overcome such institutional chaos. When Brady moved into management, the pattern of external circumstances beyond his control continued. His tenures at Celtic and Brighton were plagued by severe financial and administrative problems that had nothing to do with his abilities as a coach or football mind. At Celtic in 1991, his appointment was astounding given his lack of managerial experience, but he inherited an underfunded team that was light years behind Rangers. He worked for a board with a total lack of knowledge about football, finances and business. The club was, frankly, going to hell. In his 2-year tenure, Brady failed to win a trophy, but calling this failure grossly oversimplifies the situation. The research explicitly states his struggles were due to systemic issues and that he wasn't even the main culprit. The board tried to blame everything on the manager after his departure, making him a scapegoat for deep-seated institutional dysfunction that had nothing to do with his tactical knowledge or leadership qualities. Brighton presented an even more dire situation when Brady took charge. He resigned after 23 months, leaving a club facing mounting financial problems and £6 million in debt. They had already sold their historic Goldstone ground for development. He wasn't hired to build a successful team, but to manage an existential crisis. The financial situation was so precarious that a transfer deal for goalkeeper Mark Beanie for £350,000 was described as the most important save in Brighton history because it prevented liquidation. Brady was willing to take on this impossible task, speaking to his character and commitment to the game. Here's the remarkable truth about Liam Brady's story that completely destroys the downfall narrative. Despite these external setbacks that would have broken lesser men, his legacy is one of enduring influence and artistic brilliance. He's rightly immortalised in murals at the Emirates Stadium as an Arsenal great, a player who injected culture and intellect into the game and earned his place in the English Football Hall of Fame. What many people don't realise is that Brady's greatest redemptive act wasn't on the pitch or touchline, but on the training ground. After his playing and managerial careers ended, he found his true calling at Arsenal as head of youth development. In this role, he was finally able to pass on his technical, possession-based philosophy to a new generation of players without interference from rigid managers or financial chaos. Most notably, Jack Wilshere cited Brady as his role model, ensuring the Irishman's approach to beautiful football lived on through English football's next generation. This wasn't just about developing individual players, but about preserving a style of football that prioritised technique, vision and intelligence over physicality and directness. Brady's influence extended far beyond just one player. His work in youth development helped shape Arsenal's academy philosophy during a crucial period. He understood that true football education wasn't just about tactics or fitness, but about developing players who could think creatively, read the game and express themselves with the ball. These were the qualities that had made him special as a player. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss our latest football stories and legendary player profiles. The transformation from perceived failure to respected mentor represents the true measure of Brady's character. While others might have become bitter about missed opportunities or unfair treatment, he channeled his experiences into something positive. He used his setbacks as learning opportunities, understanding that football success isn't always about individual glory, but about contributing to something bigger than yourself. This final chapter serves as the perfect conclusion to his story and completely reframes what success really means in football. While his personal ambitions may have been unfulfilled on the grandest stages due to circumstances beyond his control, his influence on the sport was ultimately more profound and lasting as a mentor. The legacy of Chippy Brady endures through every footballer he helped shape. shape, proving that true greatness isn't always measured in trophies, but in the positive impact you have on others and the beautiful way you choose to play the game.
Show some respect. Those were the words echoing around football circles when Notts County owner Alan Hardy absolutely destroyed former manager John Sheridan, following one of the most explosive sideline meltdowns in recent memory. But before we dive into this chaotic scandal, let me tell you why John Sheridan deserves far more credit than this single moment of madness suggests. Picture this: December 2016, Notts County versus Wycombe. The tension is thick as John Sheridan watches his team struggle on the pitch. Then it happens. The referee makes a decision that sends Sheridan over the edge. What followed was a foul-mouthed tirade that would cost him his job and spark a massive controversy about respect in football. The official report captured every explosive word. "You're a f***ing disgrace. You're a f***ing useless referee. My kids aren't going to get any f***ing Christmas presents because of you." Those exact words sealed his fate at Notts County and handed owner Alan Hardy the perfect excuse to swing the axe. Hardy didn't hold back in his response. He framed Sheridan's dismissal as gross misconduct, painting himself as the defender of family values and respect in football. "I am not prepared to tolerate any member of my staff abusing referees and officials in this manner," Hardy declared, positioning Notts County as a family-friendly club that wouldn't stand for such behaviour. But here's where the story gets interesting, and this is where you need to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments whether you think Sheridan was unfairly treated or if Hardy made the right call, because the League Managers Association came out swinging on Sheridan's behalf, revealing the real truth behind this dramatic sacking. The LMA pointed out something crucial. The sacking happened 23 days after the incident. 23 days. During that time, Notts County had endured a club record run of 9 successive defeats. Suddenly, Sheridan's outburst looked less like the real reason for his dismissal and more like a convenient legal pretext to remove a manager whose team was failing on the pitch. This is where John Sheridan's story becomes truly fascinating, because despite this explosive end to his time at Notts County, his career tells the tale of a man who consistently bounced back from adversity and achieved remarkable success when others had written him off. Let's rewind to where it all began. A squad player making up the numbers. He was a key figure, a fan favourite who embodied everything supporters wanted to see in their players. When his time at Leeds came to an end, the public narrative painted it as a dramatic falling out with new manager Howard Wilkinson. The media loved the story of conflict and personality clashes, but Sheridan himself tells a completely different tale, one that shows the maturity and professionalism that defined his playing career. In his own words, he had a lot of time for Howard Wilkinson. The departure wasn't about ego or conflict, it was simply about not fitting the new manager's tactical style. Leeds received a fee they were happy to accept, and Sheridan viewed the move as just life sometimes. No drama, no burning bridges, just a professional understanding that football moves on. This forward-looking attitude became the hallmark of Sheridan's resilience throughout his career. After a brief and unsuccessful spell at Nottingham Forest that could have derailed many players, Sheridan found his true home at Sheffield Wednesday. Nearly 200 league appearances proved he hadn't lost his touch or his determination to succeed at the highest level. Then came the moment that defined his playing legacy forever: the 1991 Football League Cup final against Manchester United. Picture the scene: Wembley Stadium packed to capacity, Sheffield Wednesday facing the mighty Red Devils. The match hanging in the balance when John Sheridan stepped up to produce magic. A rocket of a shot that flew past the Manchester United goalkeeper and into the net. The goal that secured the trophy for Sheffield Wednesday and cemented Sheridan's place in football history. This wasn't just any goal. This was a career-defining moment that showed his ability to deliver when the stakes were highest. But Sheridan wasn't finished yet. He continued to prove his worth by helping Bolton Wanderers achieve achieve promotion to the Premier League during the 1996-97 season. Playing 20 times and scoring twice might not sound extraordinary, but for a veteran midfielder helping secure Premier League football, it was another testament to his enduring quality and winning mentality. His international career with the Republic of Ireland added another layer to his impressive resume. 34 caps representing his country, including appearances at both the 1990 and 1994 FIFA World Cups. His most successful managerial period came during an incredible 3-year spell with Chesterfield between 2009 and 2012. In the space of just 2 seasons, he guided the club to both a Football League Two title in 2010-11 and a Football League trophy triumph in 2011-12. Think about that achievement for a moment. 2 major trophies in consecutive seasons. That's not luck or accident. That's the mark of a manager who knew how to get the best out of his players and build a winning mentality within the squad. Unfortunately, football's unpredictable nature struck again when the team was relegated the following season, but those trophy wins remain permanent proof of Sheridan's managerial ability. His talent for rescuing clubs from desperate situations became legendary throughout lower league football. At Plymouth Argyle, he took over in January 2013, with the club staring relegation in the face. Within months, he had successfully saved the team, earning himself a new contract and the gratitude of the entire club. Similar heroics followed at Newport County, where he lifted them from the bottom of the table to 20th position with an impressive 10-game unbeaten run. The pattern that emerged was clear. John Sheridan possessed a unique gift for providing struggling teams with exactly the jolt they needed. His record of returning to clubs multiple times, most notably managing Oldham Athletic, a remarkable 6 times, proved that despite any controversies, football people recognized his value and trusted him to deliver results when it mattered most. Even examining his overall managerial statistics reveals a man who consistently found ways to succeed despite often inheriting difficult situations. His win percentages across different clubs, while not spectacular, represented solid performance considering he typically took charge of teams that we were already struggling and facing potential relegation. The Notts County incident, dramatic as it was, represents just one moment in a career filled with both triumph and adversity. Yes, his emotional outburst was unprofessional and gave the club owner exactly the ammunition needed to justify his dismissal. But context matters enormously here. Sheridan was enduring a club record run of 9 successive defeats. The pressure was immense. The frustration was building. Sometimes the very passion and intensity that drives someone to explosive outbursts is the same fire that produces remarkable achievements and clutch performances when everything is on the line. His story is ultimately one of resilience. From the pragmatic way he handled his departure from Leeds United, to bouncing back from unsuccessful spells to achieve trophy success with Chesterfield, Sheridan consistently demonstrated an ability to overcome setbacks and find new ways to succeed. What makes John Sheridan's journey even more remarkable is how he managed to maintain relevance across multiple decades of football. Think about the changing landscape of the game from the 1980s through to the 2010s. The sport evolved dramatically, yet Sheridan found ways to adapt and contribute at every stage. As a player in the 80s and 90s, he mastered the traditional midfield role. As a manager in the 2000s and beyond, he learned to work with modern players and tactical systems. The firefighter reputation that defined his managerial career actually speaks to an incredibly valuable skill set. Not every manager can walk into a crisis situation and immediately improve results. The fact that clubs repeatedly turned to Sheridan during their most desperate moments proves they recognized something special in his approach. His ability to galvanize struggling players and extract performances when relegation loomed large is a talent that cannot be taught from textbooks. Consider also the personal cost of such a peripatetic career. Moving from club to club, dealing with constant pressure and scrutiny, facing the possibility of failure with each new appointment. Lesser individuals might have given up or settled for easier options. Sheridan kept fighting, kept believing he could make a difference, kept accepting new challenges even when the odds were stacked against him. The international recognition he earned with the Republic of Ireland further validates his quality as a footballer. Representing your country at World Cups isn't an honour granted lightly. Those 34 caps came because Irish managers recognised his technical ability, tactical understanding and mental strength. Standing alongside some of Ireland's greatest ever players during those World Cup campaigns, Sheridan proved he could compete with the very best. Today, at 60 years old, John Sheridan's legacy should be defined not by one heated exchange with match officials,
but by over 600 appearances as a loyal and consistent player, by a cup final winning goal at Wembley, by multiple promotions and relegation battles won, and by the trust shown by club after club who knew they could rely on his expertise and passion when facing their darkest hours. That's a legacy worth celebrating, controversy and all.
You done that, and I'm going to sort you out for doing it. These were the chilling words Stuart Pearce delivered to a terrified French player, blood streaming down his face after being headbutted by Basile Boli during Euro 92. But here's the thing about Psycho Pearce. This wasn't some mindless act of rage. It was calculated, strategic, the mark of a man who turned his own blood into a psychological weapon. Stuart Pearce's journey to becoming one of England's most feared defenders started in the most humble way possible. While other footballers were training at academies, Pearce was working as an electrician and playing for non-league Wealdstone. For almost 5 years, he balanced both lives, wielding tools by day and thundering into tackles by night in the Alliance Premier League. This wasn't some romantic part-time story either. Pearce was so uncertain about his football future that even after signing his first professional contract with Nottingham Forest, he asked to advertise his electrician skills in their match programmes, just in case things didn't work out. His breakthrough into professional football came through a single moment that perfectly captured his character. Coventry City manager Bobby Gould watched Pearce for just 10 minutes before deciding to sign him for £30,000. What convinced him? A thundering tackle that sent a winger flying straight into Gould's wife's lap. That decisive, uncompromising style wasn't learned. It was simply who Pearce was from the very beginning. The nickname Psycho came from Nottingham Forest supporters who witnessed his unforgiving style of play every week. Later, England fans adopted it too, but Pearce himself always downplayed it, calling it just a bit of fun and a common tag for players in the 80s. This reveals something crucial about the man. There was always a disconnect between how the public saw him and how he saw himself. The truth is, Psycho was anything but psychotic. His disciplinary record proves it. In his entire professional career, Pearce was sent off only 5 times. For a player with such a fearsome reputation, that's remarkably controlled. His aggression wasn't wild or reckless. It was calculated and purposeful. He captained both Nottingham Forest and England multiple times, showing the tactical intelligence and leadership that his nickname completely missed. Now, let's go back to that Euro 92 incident that perfectly shows how Pearce's mind worked. It started with his crunching challenge on French player Jocelyn Angloma, but the retaliation came from Angloma's teammate Basile Boli, who headbutted Pearce and left him with a bloody cheek. What happened next was a masterclass in controlled aggression. Instead of seeking immediate revenge, Pearce bided his time. When England won a free kick, referee Sandor Poole ordered him to clean the blood from his face. Pearce's instruction to his teammates was clear: "Don't take this till I get back." He was telling them to channel their fury into the game itself. Upon returning, he unleashed his rage on the ball, sending a thunderous free kick that hit the underside of the crossbar and nearly scored. But here's where it gets really clever. After the play, Pearce didn't go after Boli, the man who actually headbutted him. Instead, he targeted Angloma, pointing at his cut and delivering those menacing words about sorting him out. This wasn't confusion or misplaced anger. It was psychological warfare. Pearce knew exactly what he was doing, unsettling an opponent without risking a red card. This incident shows how Pearce's intensity was always directed toward a productive end. He had a talent for harnessing his emotions and using them as weapons, whether to score crucial goals or gain psychological edges over opponents. Every manager and teammate wanted this kind of player on their side. What do you think about players who use psychological tactics like this? Was Pearce a master strategist, or did he cross crossed the line. Subscribe and let us know in the comments whether modern football has lost this kind of calculated intensity. However, Pearce's career wasn't without serious controversy. In 1994, during a Premier League match between Nottingham Forest and Manchester United at Old Trafford, Pearce was accused of making a racist remark to Paul Ince. Ironically, this was the same game where Pearce scored the winning goal. Shortly after the incident, Pearce apologised to Ince for the racist comment, and the matter was quickly resolved by Gordon Taylor, the chief executive of the Professional Footballers Association. At the time, the incident was largely ignored by the wider media. This reflected the different attitudes in English football during the mid-90s. The resolution was handled privately between the players and the PFA, with no formal charges brought against Pearce. Both players, who were England teammates, continued working together without any reported problems. But this story doesn't end in 1994. The controversy remained dormant for nearly 2 decades before suddenly resurfacing with intense force in February 2012. The timing wasn't coincidental. Pearce had just been appointed England's caretaker manager following Fabio Capello's resignation, and this happened against the backdrop of the John Terry racial abuse trial. That high-profile case had thrust racism in football into the national spotlight, making the media and public much more sensitive to such issues. The social context of English football had completely evolved. In 1994, a quick apology and private resolution were considered sufficient, but by 2012, with the sport under pressure to demonstrate progressive values, such incidents could no longer be quietly dismissed. This shift forced Pearce to publicly address the matter again. He stated that what he was and what he'd said 17 years ago was certainly no reflection of who he was in 2012. He called it a one-off mistake he'd apologised for at the time. Pearce also acknowledged that society had changed greatly over the years and that more was being done about anti-racism, and rightly so. His public statements weren't just personal admissions, but recognition that the standards for judging public figures had fundamentally changed. The scrutiny intensified because of a separate but related controversy involving his older brother Dennis. Dennis Pearce was a member of the far-right British National Party and stood as a candidate in the 2009 European elections. Although Stuart had repeatedly and emphatically distanced himself from his brother's political views, stating that his brother's beliefs were his own and not reflected in his own views, the media often linked these two distinct issues. This created an unfair layer of scrutiny. Pearce was forced to answer not only for his own past actions, but also for his family members' political views. The linking of a historical incident and a family member's political affiliation created a perfect storm of public debate. It showed how, in an era of heightened social awareness, a public figure's legacy can be shaped by the unrelated lives of those around them. But the full portrait of Stuart Pearce contains powerful contrasts that go far beyond controversy. The psycho on the field was also a deeply emotional man. After his devastating penalty miss at the Italia '90 World Cup, he cried all the way back on the coach to the team hotel. The fierce competitor who engaged in calculated confrontations was also a loyal and patriotic leader, respected by his peers. His journey from despair to triumph is best shown through his redemption at Euro '96. The memory of that Italia '90 penalty miss haunted him for years. It was a ghost he carried everywhere. When the opportunity for redemption came during the Euro '96 quarter-final against Spain, Pearce proactively volunteered to take a penalty. This was an act of pure will, facing his greatest fear head-on. His successful, thunderous strike was met with a visceral release of emotion as he ran toward the touchline. This was profound personal catharsis captured on camera. The moment wasn't just a goal for England. It was a personal victory over his past demons and proof of his ability to learn from and overcome his most difficult moments. Stuart Pearce's legacy is far more complex than his psycho nickname suggests. It's a legacy forged in the messy reality of both triumph and controversy. From his humble beginnings as an electrician to his rise as a national icon, His story is about a man who consistently navigated the unforgiving line between controlled aggression and emotional vulnerability. Both the Bowley incident and the Ince allegation, separated by time but linked by his character, help us understand not only Pearce's duality but also the broader evolution of football's social consciousness. His ability to grow from his mistakes and channel his fiery nature into a constructive force ultimately defines a career that was as much about character as it was about football. What makes Pearce's story even more remarkable is how he maintained his working-class values throughout his rise to fame. Even as an established England international, he never forgot where he came from. His pragmatic approach to life, forged during those years balancing electrical work with football, stayed with him. This grounding kept him humble, despite the fearsome reputation he developed on the pitch. His leadership style reflected this authenticity. Teammates respected him, not just for his intensity, but for his genuine character. He led by example, never asking others to do what he wouldn't do himself. This earned him the captain's armband for both club and country, proving that true leadership comes from character rather than just ability. The transformation from non-league electrician to England captain is almost unbelievable in today's football world. Modern players are identified and developed through academy systems from childhood. Pearce's path would be virtually impossible now, making his achievements even more special. He represents a different era when determination and character could overcome any disadvantage. His story reminds us that football's greatest legends often come from the most unexpected places. Sometimes, the players who have to fight hardest for their opportunities become the ones who value them most. The man who once worked with electrical wires became someone who could electrify crowds and terrorize opponents in equal measure. Stuart Pearce proved that sometimes the most powerful transformations come from the most ordinary beginnings.